Hello. Welcome into a new video where we talk about this piece and watch a little time lapse. And then also I want to talk about productivity and how we can get back to productivity when you've maybe fallen out of productivity, because it's something that I'm kind of struggling with right now. And so I want to talk about it and maybe offer some tips and my plan, and maybe that will help you, and it will also help me because I will talk it through. But first, let's talk about this piece. So I wanted to do something that had very kind of dark fairy tale vibes. I go through this phase basically at the end of summer, beginning of autumn, where I want to get into those darker vibes. And I just love the feel of dark fairy tales. And so that's kind of what I wanted for this piece. When I was drawing this piece, I was imagining that this character, maybe not that she started out in this kind of dark forest, like maybe she is from somewhere else, but she left on some sort of quest and she's been taken in by the forest for so long. Like perhaps she's been here wandering on her quest, because in kind of dark fairy tales, people can get lost for hundreds of years or whatever. And so she's been on this quest for a long time, almost like moving in circles. You would think that she has almost become a part of the dark fairy tale. She has become not as much the protagonist anymore, but she's actually been consumed by it, and now she's just part of it. And maybe we as the viewer are kind of stumbling upon her because we're newly into this forest, this environment, and she has been here a while, that she knows how everything works, but she doesn't necessarily know how to escape it. That was one thought I had. I don't know if it's her actual story, but it was something that kind of came to my mind while I was working on this piece. Also, I feel like she kind of has Snow White vibes. Maybe once we get into the color, it's because of the dark hair and the pale skin. And do you guys remember that movie Snow White and the Huntsman? I actually don't really remember what it was about, but I remember that Kristen Stewart was the main character and she had armor on. So it's probably just the mix of armor plus the pale skin and dark hair that makes me think of it. But anyway, that was just a random thought. I was also listening to an audiobook while I was working on this piece. I was actually re-listening to A Court of Thorns and Roses. And so I think that played a little bit of an influence as well, because there's kind of that beginning scene where she is hunting a wolf, and I don't know, it kind of has a similar feeling in my mind, a similar aesthetic, even though the main character, Feyre, isn't in an elf with armor at that point or anything like that. But anyway, so those were a couple influences, I think, while I was drawing that I maybe was or was not aware of at the time. I like how this piece turned out. It was one of my recent favorites for sure. But let's talk a little bit about productivity. As many of you know, I was gone for a little over a week at the beginning of this month, and before I left, I was very productive. I feel like, I was very productive. I will own that. And I tried to get a lot done so that there would be posts that would go up for you guys while I was gone, so that there wasn't a big gap or anything. That was great. That's wonderful. But the problem is that I've been struggling with productivity since I have returned home. I think that's pretty normal. When you go on vacation, sometimes it's hard when you get back to kind of get back into the flow of things, especially if it's a long distance travel where you're also dealing with jet lag, which I kind of am. But on top of that, there's also been Baldur's Gate 3 that's been released, and it's the first game in a really long time that I've been kind of hooked on. I used to be a gamer growing up, when I was a teenager, but as an adult, I've kind of fallen out of playing games very much just because they don't hold my attention. I would rather be drawing or working, except this game. It's so good. It's so inspiring, and I love it, and all I want to do is play it. Cannot play it all the time because there's stuff that needs to get done, right? I actually had plans over the weekend that I wanted to get a few things done. It did not happen because I got really hooked on the game, and partway through yesterday, which was Sunday, I was thinking okay, I'm going to get off. My plan was to get off and get some stuff done, and then I could play again or something like that. But then I kind of just decided, all right, how about this, Chris? I've negotiated with myself. You can play all day today. You can be a fiend, a degenerate, and play this game all day and not get anything done today. But that means tomorrow, Monday, today, you have to basically not play. You just have until you get all, this list of stuff done. I think that actually works okay for me. I guess we'll see, right? We'll see how well it works. This is my first task of the day, is to do this voiceover. So we're off to a good start. I also went for a jog today, so I think that actually helps. Doing some sort of physical activity at the beginning of the day, whatever it is that you do or like to do, I do think that it helps kind of get your mind in the right place. It helps kind of shake out any sort of anxiousness that's in your body, or at least it helps. It might not get rid of everything, but it helps. Put your mind in the right place to start getting stuff done. But let's go through this step by step, my plan, and you can take it or leave it, or take ideas from it or critique it if you want. But my plan. So first of all, yesterday when I wanted to not be productive, I gave myself permission to not be productive. I think that's important, even though I still feel kind of guilty about it. But I think that's important because it kind of just lets me do the thing that I want to do, because the mind can really fight you if you're just always holding it back. So I gave myself permission to not be productive, indulge all day, almost overindulge, so that I would be hopefully a little bit more sick of it by today. I'm not sick of it, but I don't feel this huge craving to immediately jump on the game. So that's good. So give yourself permission and indulge a bit, and then start the day after you've indulged for a day or whatever. Start the day with physical activity to shake off the tension and anxiety and put your mind in the right space to start getting stuff done and being productive. What's the next step? Let's get some other physical stuff out of the way. Make sure I drink a couple full glasses of water. I actually do think that really helps. And eat a decent breakfast. I used to never eat breakfast, but recently I've come to really appreciate breakfast. The breakfast that I eat now is, I like to have vegetables with my breakfast. I'm kind of a savory breakfast person, and I think it helps regulate blood sugar or whatever. So I eat either kale or spinach, and I usually cook it a little bit with eggs, and I am vegetarian. So I used to not eat eggs, so I used to be vegan, but my doctor has told me that I need to eat eggs, so now I am eating eggs. So I eat kale or spinach with eggs, and then I will sometimes slice either a regular potato or a sweet potato, not a huge one, and I kind of cook that, and I just have it all together. And it's really kind of simple and plain, but it's very satisfying, and I think it's a good way to start the day. And then I feel more ready to be productive. Now, when I need to be productive, like I was saying, I like to listen to audiobooks and podcasts and stuff when I'm working, especially if I'm painting, but I have found that if I want to work faster and be more productive, I need to turn off those distractions. So that means that today, after I record this, instead of listening to audiobooks or anything, I am going to probably turn on some music, and it's going to be music without lyrics. It's going to be some sort of something with a beat maybe, or I actually have found binaural beats, like theta waves and stuff, strangely helpful. There's this track that's right brain activation that I sometimes listen to that I kind of like, and it's just kind of noise in the background. So it's not distracting, which is helpful, and it lets my mind fully focus on the thing. Oh, I guess I didn't mention that another thing that really helps me is at the end of the night. So last night after I had played my game, I knew today I needed to be productive. So I wrote down basically 3 main tasks that I wanted to get done today. So today I'm working on a book outline. I'm working on the text for a fantasy illustration tutorial that is for a different book. And I am doing the recording for this time lapse. And I decided to start actually from the bottom of the list and work up, I guess, because I'm starting with this time lapse because I guess it felt like the smallest task to do that would take the least amount of time. And so I guess that is my next point, is make sure you write your tasks down and don't write down too many, and then jumping back, the next step is to work on the task that calls to you the most, I suppose. I know that there is this mentality of like eat the frog. If you don't know what eat the frog means, it means tackle the hardest thing first. But I decided that what would be better for me today is to tackle the thing that I think I will get done soonest or quickest first. That way I will be able to mark that thing off of my list, which gives me a little satisfaction and motivation to keep going down with my list. That's probably what I'll do. I'm doing this time lapse, and then I think I will do the book outline because it will be a little bit quicker. And then hopefully I will get to the fantasy text, the fantasy tutorial text. That's the plan, my friends. I do have a hard time with taking breaks and stuff, but I do think that taking breaks is important. So in between these tasks, or if one of the tasks takes a long time, like the fantasy tutorial, I will plan to take breaks. So for example, I don't like eating lunch at my desk. I used to eat lunch and meals at my desk all the time, but now I try and make an effort to eat lunch at the table and like put away my phone so that I'm not distracted and I can really take that break, because it helps having those breaks that you're not looking at a screen, you're not distracted, and you can just kind of rest, like actual rest. Your brain is not like getting dopamine hits from scrolling or whatever. That is really important for keeping your brain fresh and keeping your creativity fresh and keeping the productivity high. Because if you don't take breaks and you don't refresh your brain, productivity diminishes more and more and more and more. I believe that there is a statistic basically said that the average office worker only get about, was it as little as 4 hours of work out of them, out of an 8-hour day? Is that correct? I'm actually going to pause this and look it up real quick, because 4 hours is not very much. Okay, actually the average productivity for like an office worker is apparently more closer to around 3 hours, which is absolutely insane to me. It's different for freelancers. Freelancers tend to be more productive in a day, but I think freelancers tend to work more hours in general. But for our brains, actually, it's a little bit different with an office because there's meetings and stuff, but for our brains and productivity, it's actually very, very difficult and almost impossible for us to be just productive for 8 hours straight in a day. It's not, it's just like not physically like how we operate. So we do need those times of rest. And also if you are spending those times of rest stressing out about social media, because let's be real, social media is stressful. It's not actually rest. So my plan is to try and not look at my phone very much while I'm trying to get all of this stuff done. And yeah, I mean, all in all, the tips are quite basic. So, but that's my plan for getting back on the productivity wheel is, let's review the steps again. I indulged for a day in what I wanted to do that was not productive, and I just let myself overindulge, gave myself permission. And then at the end of the day, I wrote down my to-do list for the next day. And then at the beginning of the next day, the productive day, I started the day out with a big glass of water and some physical activity. And then come home, more water, breakfast, and then sitting down to work on my list, starting with the thing that I can get done the quickest, and also not listening to distractions like audiobooks and podcasts, and instead listening to just like some non-distracting music so that I can work faster. And we'll see how this works today. I am hopeful. I hope it works because I really need to get this stuff done. But yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I hope you like this piece. It's one of my favorites in how it turned out. I actually got a huge print of it, and I'm finding a frame for it before I will kind of post it up on social media and stuff. But if you saw my blog post, you saw a preview of the big print of it. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope my rambling was okay and kept you company a little bit and maybe gave you some ideas. It was super basic steps for productivity, but sometimes simple is exactly what we need. And just going back to the basics it just makes it simple. There's no like secret sauce really. So yeah, I guess we'll see how it all works depending on how much stuff I get done this month, eh? All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.